side of Lick Creek Restorations, and this is my 1973 Ford Bronco, the Duck.
Tom, this is one of my favorite builds, and I'd love to just know what inspired you just to even get this build started. I mean, what was the base?
You know, Broncos have been in my family pretty much since I was conceived.
Wow.
So, you know, we just carried on from there. It took me years to find one that when I had the money and able to do it. So when I bought this one, it didn't look like this. It was a yellow highlighter, rusty turd, and we had a lot of work ahead of us.
You went from like this rock solid enthusiast of Broncos into taking it to another level, and now you're building it.
Yeah, my vision, and I had to pay a little tribute to Nick's Tricks. You know, when I saw one of his builds, it gave me an idea of what they could become. So this one, I looked at it and started rethinking things of going away from doing just a traditional stock rebuild back to stock colors and that kind of thing. I looked at it and I always liked King Ranch trucks. Exterior has a lot of King Ranch inspiration, but I also wanted to stay true to the vehicle. So I tried to vision all the goodies I added to it if they were available back in '73, how Ford would finish them and add them into it. So that's what we tried to do. You know, I'm happy with the results.
What are some of the other cool features of your interior, since you're talking about that, you know, that make this build and your vision stand apart?
The interior, you know, all the seating's all handmade. You know, the front seats came out of a Toyota Celica. The back seat was out of a Dodge Caravan, and everything had to be cut apart and reworked to fit the way I wanted it to fit. Make a lot of fold and tumble brackets from scratch. So everything functions in the truck. Rear seat folds and tumbles. The passenger seat, you know, a big guy like me has no problem climbing in the back. You know, I didn't want to have to pinch through it because I knew the hardtop was never going to come off of this thing. You know, other than that, it's just creature comforts. You know, my favorite feature is the AC. You know, long road trips. I am going to add cruise control to it. That's the one thing that it needs. All the hardware in the inside is all stainless. I hand polished all of it before we installed it.
Nice.
I did a few tributes. You know, as everybody knows, the name of it's the Duck. That was in recognition of my grandfather. He always had mallards in flight. So, you know, back when I started this, it was a big thing. Everybody was naming their vehicles. So I said, okay, I'm going to call it the Duck, and it stuck. You know, so the tribute is the name, and of course on my license plates, they have the mallards in flight. Some other tributes I did, my dad always talks about his 1970 Roadrunner 440 4-speed hearse car he had. Fortunately, my mom blew it up, so that's why he always talks about it. He didn't have it very long. But, you know, we spent a lot of money and time. The transfer case shifter is a Hurst shifter. I've got a little over $400 invested in that damn handle and the shift pattern for the T-shift. So a little bit of commitment there for that effect.
Hi Tom, so tell us a little bit about what's going on underneath the hood here.
Underneath the hood here, I wanted to go after modern cars. So everybody with the talking the Coyotes and stuff at the time, I got looking at the basics of the Coyote, and it was basically a 400 horsepower engine. So my builder and I got together and we plotted this engine out, and it's 347 stroker, 400 horse, 425 torque, but all of my power is in down low. So I designed this truck. I planned on traveling around the country with it eventually, so I set it up for 70. At 70 miles an hour, it turns 2,200 RPMs, and it's running on about 380 foot-pounds of torque. At 2,800 RPMs, it's 425 foot-pounds of torque. And at 3,000 RPMs is the peak horsepower, 400. So it's got a lot of power way down low.
So you were able to take the 302 block, stroke it to 340 cubic inches. This is Windsor block, this 302. Yes. Yeah. So there's not a whole lot of modification, yet you're getting all of these modern conveniences.
Yes, there's a lot of upgrade. The engine and transmission out of, I think it was an 87 Mercury Lincoln Mark 5 or 7, I don't remember which one. It was based on the Cougar. So it's the 5-liter and AOD out of that car that we converted over, adapted to the Dana 20. Then we had the block prepped for the stroker kit, and then I assembled everything from there. It is featuring the Explorer front dress.
Yep. AC.
Yep, air conditioning, hydro boost brake.
And everything's just so clean. It's like everything has a place. It's really tucked. It's nice and organized.
Yeah, and it's also fuel injected via Tech.
Man, Tom, with all the modern conveniences of this drivetrain, I can imagine this is a real joy to drive.
It is. In fact, it's the bugs and dirt and everything on here is from the round trip that we just drove it up to Dearborn. A little over 1,800 miles in what, 4 days. Go up there and back.
You know, I think that's what people are looking for when they purchase an older vehicle. It's not only cool, but they can trust that it can go on long trips.
Yeah.
You know, Tom, this Bronco really stands out to me, and sometimes I really don't even know why. I mean, there's just some really subtle features that I like about it. What are some of the things that you did that made it so different than others?
The most obvious you would think that gets overlooked is the drop wipers.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't ever notice that they're down. They don't, you know, no one looks at wipers, but once they do, they get hung on.
Yeah, and then they start wondering, how did you do that?
Yeah. And that's ancient secrets. We're going to leave it there. You know, another feature on this thing is the special decor stripe. You know, some of the shots you'll see it, some it's not there. But it's ghosted. It's 3 coats of silver pearl that we did the stripe in. You know, as most know, this special decor was a 76, 77 option.
The front end looks so clean, and you know, I don't know if I can really put my finger on it. What is it that cleaned this front end up?
The biggest was the filler panels.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a 1-inch body lift on it. So we've got the filler panels front and rear. This is the biggest gap that is hardest to hide when you do a 1-inch body lift. It's the most obvious. The front is not as much till you get to the 2-inch.
Right.
But it's a complete deal.
Hold on a second here. That's a stock chrome bumper.
Yes, it is.
And that's a 35-inch tire.
Absolutely.
How the heck are you getting that much tire back here with a stock bumper?
With a little help from James Duff.
I mean, tell me a little bit about what's going on here.
Had the idea to get a spare tire on the back of this thing from day one, but everybody's fear of hanging one off of the factory quarter panel is too much weight. So I had come up with an idea how to build one. I wanted to keep my stock bumpers, again, keep with the theme of the vehicle being, you know, how it would have rolled off the showroom floor. And I contacted Michael and Susie, and we had a few discussions, and I came down to the shop one day with some ideas, and he and I worked on this, and this is the prototype that is going to be available soon.
So Tom, obviously you have a relationship with James Duff. Where did that all start?
It started back in the suspension. We waited for them to come out with their 2.5-inch suspension, and we got that on here, and then I had a few other projects going in the shop, and we needed a long arm solution, but it couldn't be long, it had to be short. So out of that came the T-Rex arms. Once we did that, we went ahead and got a prototype set to put on here, and everything kind of morphed from that. You know, this vehicle now has the James Duff 2.5-inch suspension. It's got the T-Rex arms. I needed a torque tamer with all that horsepower.
Yeah.
I had no idea how much control I was missing until I put that on.
Right.
And then the last thing we put on was a set of Hellwig sway bars. And now, my personal opinion, it's probably one of the best riding, handling vehicles out there for an early Bronco.
You've actually created a lift kit that you've dubbed a name, haven't you?
Yes, the Duck Tuck.
The Duck Tuck suspension system.
Yes.
So if someone wants a ride equivalent to what you have here on the Duck, then they just say, I want the Duck Tuck ride. Well, what is everything?
It's the 2.5-inch suspension.
Okay.
It's the Hellwig sway bars.
Okay.
It's the T-Rex arms.
Uh-huh.
It's the heavy-duty coil buckets. It's the adjustable track bar. The torque tamer.
Right. Sounds like I need to help you compile a list so we can get this in a kit.
Absolutely.
And everyone can just literally just call and I want the Duck Tuff.
Yeah.
And then we already know exactly everything that is in it.
Yeah. And the beauty of that lift and this setup is it works great on 33s. Works great with 31s on an uncut. 33s is good if you add cutout fender flares or you do the stamped rear. 33s work great. Do flares, 35s work.
With a 1-inch body lift.
With a 1-inch body lift.
Man, that covers a lot of ground.
Absolutely.
You know, I actually, and so just so the viewers know, I mean, obviously, you know who I am and I work for James Duff. You know, this really feels like a promotion for our stuff, but I actually got a chance to drive this truck myself. And at first, when I first drove it about a year ago, I was like, yeah, it drives good. But now with everything just the way you dialed it in, I want to tell you, I think this is the best riding Bronco and best handling Bronco I've actually got to experience.
That's awesome. That's what I was after.
Dude, you did it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we did it, but still.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is fantastic.
This is a joint adventure to get this developed.
Well, I hope that we can help other people enjoy their ride as much as this, because some people think that they've got a great ride, but they really need they need to get in this and really know the difference.
Well, they can come out to Supercell and we'll give some rides.
Cool. Man, it's really great catching up with you and your build. I think there's just so many awesome, cool features about it. Thanks everyone for joining us with Hump Days for Monster Mike, and definitely catch you guys next time. I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, this is gonna be hard to top.
Oh, we've got other stuff coming out. It'll be out this winter.
Awesome.
We'll debut it here.
Great. We'll catch you guys next time.